Looks good.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thanks a lot, ThoughtWorks, and thanks a lot, Steffi, for the great introduction. Good evening, everybody. This is Anil Kumar here, and as Steffi said, I'm a senior IT consultant at BitCrypt. In this talk, I would like to show a side project. I did it for Cypress and using a BDD. And I thought of it would be nice to share it with the community and get feedback as well. And let's get started. And the main idea of this project was to attract product owners and also developers. I'm not talking about automation engineers, but I'm talking about the front-end or back-end developers to write more BDD or tests, and also product owners to write more step definitions. And this talk will be mainly divided into two parts. First of all, it will consist of the context, where I'm coming from and why I created this. And the second part is I'm going to give you a demo of what I created it. And yeah, and later we can have a conversation and your thoughts. And for the it would be really great whenever you see this question mark icon. It would be great if you can also chat, write your thoughts on the chat, because I would also like to learn something from you today. And let me know what other what automation tools are you using in your projects. Let me know on the chat section. And I would like to tell you a story about John. It's a fictional story, but which is closer to the real project scenario. And he's a QA or automation engineer in one of the agile projects where he works with a product owner and developers. And he mainly works for in a consulting company in Berlin, and which is they're doing an e-commerce project. And the e-commerce project is mainly about APIs with a lot of APIs involved, and consist of different front-end application and so on. One of the biggest problem is he never has a totally green automation reports. You always have some kind of a reddish, or always kind of a signaling something is wrong, some kind of a flaky test. And it's kind of makes him sad that every sprint he has to spend some time on looking into those broken tests, and this goes on and on in a sprint. And okay, then he comes to look into are there any alternatives. By the way, he's using in his project Selenium and WebDriver IO based automation framework in his E2E project. And do you know any other or non-Selenium based E2E testing tools? And for example, it could be Cypress or Test Cafe or Puppeteer. And after he does some kind of a research on online, and he comes to know about Cypress, which is a non-Selenium based E2E automation testing tool. And one of the great aha moment for him was he could really now see what's happening from each step, and also the screens. So what he does is, and you can also see from this screen that it has more overview and all more information about the tests and what tests are passed and failed. And what he thinks is, okay, now it's time to present it to the team, where he can present it to technical architects and also to the team, so he can really trying to get this Cypress into the project, so he can reduce the flaky test and have more confidence. And what happens is, like he tries to compare with WebDriver IO to Cypress, and which is kind of 1 year ago. So he shows what's the architecture, what's the benefit, and so on. And the question comes from the architects, the biggest question is, okay, what about Firefox? And what about a Docker instances? Like how do the testing environments are there? There are some challenges and glitches with that. He couldn't answer them, and he kind of got a no from the team. And beginning of this year, Cypress made an announcement to the support for the Firefox and also now recently to the Edge. Now they have a Firefox support, which is still in beta. And he thinks that, hey, this time I can actually excites him, because last time when he presented to his technical architects, he got a no from them. So this time, instead of presenting again and going there, he talks to his team and present a small demo of a Cypress project and how it works in terms of Microsoft Edge and Firefox, and also on a Docker instance, for example, in the CI/CD pipeline. And this time, he doesn't want to just kind of go and present, but he wants to act like a facilitator. When I say a facilitator, he wants to be, being a QA, he wants to make the whole team responsible for the whole quality of the product. That way, the product owners can write the specifications or requirements or user stories in more an acceptance criteria in more BDD Gherkin style. And also developers can allow to write those E2 end-to-end tests for those already implemented or implementing features or the new user stories. So what he does is he asks for the workshop, and where he shares, like asks for the team to share what are the problems they have with their existing E2E tests, and from the perspective of product owner, from the perspective of developers. And one of the things he notices that those tests are flaky, and if they can reduce the flaky tests, and if they can able to give more confidence to product owners, and also the developer experience with WebDriver IO and Selenium, especially in terms of debugging and looking into the results, he listed out all the problems, and he come up with what he can do. Like, does this does it really solves the problem of what the team is facing with Cypress? So that's why he prepares this demo example and presents it to them, and tries to see if it really solves or not. So now let's go to this is a very, very quick intro from my perspective in a simple way. And you can find books about great articles about BDD. In a nutshell, from my perspective, BDD is just a collaboration tool for your QA and for your developers and product owners and your clients. And they claim it to have, it is an outside and outside-in approach. When you say outside-in approach means if this box is your product, what BDD cares only is about your input and output, and it doesn't care about your inside, what it is. So one example, a best example could be, you can imagine it's like you're on an ATM machine and you want to take a cash, and let's say you want to write a test for it. When you're writing a test, you just think about all the possible inputs and what are your expected outputs, and you never talk about the internals of your ATM machine. So you always look from the perspective of users, and you try to test your product based on from the user scenarios or user cases perspective. And this is my kind of a definition for BDD. For me, BDD is a storytelling tool. If you're really, it should feel like when you look at the test cases, it should look like a story about your product and what are the cases it covers. And it's a story about your user, and he has a problem, and or at least he has a goal to achieve, and using your product, and he's gonna get his job done, or is gonna reach his goal. Or he might not able to reach, he might get into some other issue, or the idea is tell a story about your product so everybody in the team can understand, including including the QA, product owner, Scrum Master, a developer, and also the clients. So everybody can have a shared understanding with each other. And this is my demo of what I said about my side project, which I worked on. It's a simple interactive application I created to make a core concepts of BDD to explain. So as you know, when you write the scenarios or the features for the test cases, the three main components of the Gherkin style of writing these BDD is what context the user in. Like in this case, I have chosen a day and night. Like this is our target user, Maria. She's reading, and her target is to, our goal is to read comfortably or finish her book comfortably. And this button kind of toggles if it's a day or night. And the action, like sometimes if she's in the night and if there is no light outside, she has to use our lamp. So for that, she has to take an action. In that case, the bulb comes in, like where she can interact with that. And regarding the output, you can see that if she can able to read the book or not. So we're going to take a look of this example and also the different features and all the possible cases. And so the feature file I've written for this case, which we looked now, is quite simple. Oops. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. I have to come back again. Oops. Yeah. I hope I can play this. Yeah. As you can see here, with this scenarios, this is an example of BDD Gherkin, a simple scenario about the feature about read the book. I'm talking about Maria. I need a good light in order to read the book, so that's her goal. And I got a couple of cases where she's at home. Like you can see, she's at home, and it's morning, and light is off. I'm talking about the light bulb in the house, and then she should be able to read the book. The good part is, like, when I'm describing the scenario, I never described anything about my UI components. UI components in my application. So this UI I never used any of those buttons or anything like that. It looks like a conversational style, like anybody can understand it easily. Again, it could be from product owner, developer, and QA. So they have a common shared understanding, and we are talking about the simple idea that user and using your product and a goal. So she has some goal, and she's using your product. In this case, it could be a light bulb, and we are talking about the user, which is Maria. We're going to see this in action and how I applied to the Cypress project later. And another thing is, which is also interesting, is it could even happen that sometimes now we're talking about the switch, and let's say the advantage of using the independent of UI and talking in terms of user way is that, let's say if Maria has a Google Assistant at her home, and she can call to switch off and switch on the lights as well. And even if she replaces her physical switch with this Google Home, still we can, our scenarios still valid. So that's another big advantage of using BDD and writing in a user perspective, telling our story about your product from the user perspective. Okay, let me try to show, but I don't know why I had a demo. Yes, now you can see here, you can see the demo, like she doesn't have the lights are off, so that's why she cannot read it, so that's why it's green. So when he puts the light, she can read it again. And yeah, so that's an interactive demo. I want to talk about this basic idea of the background, and she takes some trigger action to get achieve outcome. Okay, coming to the build pipeline. So this example, I have used this side project. I made a complete end-to-end implementation, which also runs on the Circle CI, and you can see those results here, and it is open sourced. And some lessons learned. So I'm gonna share my demo example later so that I don't have to switch between my editor and my browser and my presentation. The lessons I learned was it's not about a tool, because at first attempt, the John tried to convince the team to use it without really looking into the problem. He was more approached in the solution perspective. But at the second time, he went on with more on a problem perspective and did a workshop and understand the requirement, what's the problem we have, and talking to his team and understanding and getting their perspectives and aligning their problems, and then focusing if Cypress or some other tool can solve it. And now he's able to win the team confidence, and now they decided to give a bet on this Cypress tool to reduce the flaky tests. So let me know what testing strategies do you use to influence your team? Do you have any other strategies which can really helpful for or which help you to get more kind of okay from your team? Because one of the biggest challenge I see is changing people mindset, changing the mindset of your teammates. It could be always more focused on solutions like, hey, we always want to do fit to Selenium because it can support multiple different browsers and IE and all and so on. What kind of challenges you had, or what strategies? Let me know in the chat. And two books which really influenced me in terms of I approach those testing ideas are Bridging Communication Gap by Goika. And I think you might be knowing him because he talks in most of the Agile and testing conferences. And he has great articles and great talks on the idea of Agile and testing. And also, there is one really book I can highly recommend is Writing Great Specification with Kamil. And he has written a great idea about how to write a great BDD examples. Like what's the good example, what are the challenges you might have, and how much to do BDD, and how to approach the different scenarios. So I can highly recommend these books. And let me know if you have any books you recommend worth reading for. It could be for E2E testing, or it could be automation, or anything else. Let me know in the chat. And yeah, thanks a lot. And now it's a demo time. And I would like to switch my screen and show the example first. So for that, I'm gonna exit. I'm gonna share my editor. I'm gonna share my screen. I hope you can see my Visual Studio Code, and it's a Cypress project which I have feature file. Don't worry, I have this. It's open source. It's on GitHub, and you can see whatever the demo I showed you here. It's there, and there's feature files, and I have some step definitions. pretty straightforward. Typically, same like managing those, mapping those definitions, what I define into my Cypress commands, translating those steps, and let's see it in action. I think I might have to share it again, the different screen, because it's a totally different window. It's opened my Cypress. I guess you'll not be able to see this, my Cypress window, so I have to stop sharing my code and share it again. Okay, so let's see how it looks. I'm actually running my application in interactive mode on a Cypress. So I'm gonna show once this testing is done from my side. I would Zoom at a time I can share only one screen, so that's why you're not able to see that. So hold on for a few moments. I'm gonna share when it's done. So my tests are run actually. So yes, now I can actually show you. I'm gonna share my stop sharing and I'm gonna share it again. So now I'm gonna share my Cypress screen. So here you can see here, this is what it works. It looks great, and everything looks green. You can see here, you can actually the biggest buy-in for me compared to any other automation tool is time travel. With time travel, you can see what's happening in each step, and you can really see some more assertions. So let me go and break the test. One of the tests, I think I'm going to make this. She should not be able to read the book. So you can see here it's dark and light is not on. So that's why I can't read the book. And I'm going to change my feature file. And okay, she should not be. I've just updated my feature file here. Oops, where's my person? So my feature file is updated. So that's why you see that my Cypress project now reruns the tests again. And you see that now my Maria should be able to read the book during the night. And my step definition is she should not be able to read the book. You see here, the light is present, and my feature expectation is that she should not be able to read the book. So you get the feedback immediately. And the best part, like I said before many times, that you can see the result and you see what's wrong here, and you can clearly see and go and fix if you want. And on the application side, I'm gonna commit this my feature file, and my CI/CD pipeline also prepared to run my automation tests and gives me feedback. So now I'm gonna share my Chrome so that we can see this Circle CI, my CI/CD pipeline, and give me one moment. I'm gonna open my Circle CI pipeline, and which is okay. So I'm gonna share my screen now. Chrome. Okay. I hope you can see my Chrome. So this is my Circle CI. So I'm gonna push to my GitHub branch, my GitHub project, which is you can see here BDD. This is my that project, and I'm gonna push this feature file which I edited now, and to run my CI/CD pipeline. Push feature change, and I'm pushing to my GitHub, and this should trigger my Cycle CI. At the moment, it's green. Everything looks green. See here now it started running. It might take 1 or 2 minutes. You see here I'm running Firefox and Chrome, and now we should see that I pushed my changes to this Cypress 31 seconds ago. So here I just pushed it from my editor, and we can take a look. For example, Firefox, and it's running. Meanwhile, yeah, so this is the project. You can take a look and play around with it. And yeah, hope to get it running. There also, Cypress has support for different CI platform, whatever platform you're using, GitHub, GitLab, and even if you have your infrastructure with Jenkins and your own private Docker instances, so you can have all the possible options, and they also have a great documentation on that. Oops, it seems to take more time. I'm gonna check the other build. Both are running. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, like I'm pretty much end of my talk, so if you have any questions, let me know. I will just finish this. I'll show this my results, and then we can take a look. Or you can also see here, currently it's passed, and once my test is broken, I think my GitHub will also update it to failed. So you don't have to really look here every time. So since it's running, so it might take some time.
There's the first question incoming. Friedrich wants to know, what is the difference between Cypress and Cucumber?
Okay, okay. It's I think Cucumber is just a framework on top of. It's a BDD Gherkin way where you write. I'm writing this right. These styles right. I also have a corresponding step definitions, and which translates my steps, which are defined here, into my automation, where my test engine can understand and executes those tests and validate these, my feature definition. So Cypress is just a tool to run your end-to-end tests. For example, you can have a Cucumber for Selenium also, and you can run, you don't need to have a Cypress to it. Cypress is just one of the non-Selenium based end-to-end automation tool for browser testing. Okay, you can see here they are failed now, and my project should highlight now. It should be failed. You see here it's failed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna share my slide again. So give me a second. I'm gonna go. Yeah, and if you're anybody interested, please let me know or feedback on this talk. And also by giving this feedback, you can also get a Cypress t-shirt just like this, what I'm wearing. It's for free. Yeah. Yeah. If you have enjoyed the talk, let me know, or if you wanted to improve or something you didn't like or something you can improve, let me know the feedback. That would be great. I'm now open for questions.
Yes, there were 3 popping in. Alice wants to know the cons of using Cypress, if there is any, and also is there any advantage over Selenium?
I think first of all, let me tell you the cons is like whenever I try to convince, at least I would say I try to influence my team, is one of the architects are coming from was mainly about why Selenium, why not Selenium, what's different, what's special about Cypress. At last year discussions, one of the strong point for Selenium fans were I think they don't support Firefox, they don't support other browsers and all. But now they have a support for Firefox, which is still in beta. And I would say, yeah, they might have some known workarounds you need to make it working. So for example, as I showed you my example on Circle CI, I ran my tests comfortably on Firefox and Chrome without any issues. Of course, as you know, the biggest difference is you don't have a web driver. Your test directly talks to the browser using the protocols, and which should be faster. And other big advantages, network. One of the misconceptions about E2E tests are you always think that E2E tests should be UI based. Let's say one example is you want to test some e-commerce application for the checkout. For that, you don't have to get into a login screen and enter the username and password and go to the checkout page every time in a UI driven way. With Cypress, you can actually call your APIs, or you can set your session or token, and you can call if you have your REST API directly from your tests, and you can prepare your background for your test in a much faster way. So that's a big benefit. And you can also take one of the other problems. I think a lot of automation test engineers know that the problem with pause, like using multiple waits and pause, which can really make your automation test to run slowly, and you can end up having a lot of pause. I think you can eliminate these pauses with more intuitive actions. Like for example, when network receives 200 for this particular request, you perform the next action. Instead of I'm applying for pause, you have a lot of benefits over like that.
Regarding the Firefox support, Carlos has a question. Is the Firefox support stable? From the last time I saw that was in beta version.
Yeah, it's still beta. I think it's still beta. And as I said, it's not smooth. I think you need to have some workaround to make it working, especially I think they have some garbage collection. They have a totally different way of handling the garbage collection in Firefox, and they have some challenges. But yeah, as you saw in my CI/CD pipeline, I'm able to run my application with Firefox comfortably without any issues. But I have to say that it's not smooth like Chrome, like you do it, add your commands and running it again. Yes, you need to make this working a little bit of workaround.
Thank you. Anne-Kathrin would like to know or wrote, I'm interested in hearing more from the product owner perspective. How can we help the team to be more open to BDD? Any good additional reading material to recommend?
I think, yeah, like I said, I think Goika is one of the, just Google for Goika or Google YouTube on Goika. I think Goika has a great, is a great agile mindset and testing. I think it talks greatly about how to challenge your requirements from the product owner perspective, especially for your clients. I can highly recommend Goika's talk, and I think he recently started SpecFlow, I think with collaboration with them, I think he's writing a lot of articles on E2E tests, especially the cucumber style, given, when, then, and the good patterns, and what are the bad patterns and how to avoid them. I can highly recommend him to follow him on Twitter or LinkedIn. And why I also like this writing great specification. Goika talks more about what strategies and what things you need to do. And Kamil talks about more on details about what and how to think from a product owner, from more outcome perspectives, and how you can stay focused more on a good level of business level, how you can basically write. For me, I think BDD is a storytelling tool. Like it's about if you think about your product, each product is different. So how well you tell your story, which kind of keep fresh, and which is focused on your user, not on your product. And it talks about his goals and his struggles, and not your product. So I think he has a really good examples, and he has I can recommend that. So those two, I would say. And yeah, and the other thing which I talked about was which really kind of I see a big result was, even though it's not related to E2E or it can be applied for anything, was not chasing on solutions, but focusing on problems. Like if you really want to bring something to your team, talk to your team, and do some small workshop, and see where they're struggling, see where they see the problem from, see where they see as a impact, where they see value in the automation test. For me, it was more on a product owner. For him, he doesn't care. For him, he cares for more on a confidence. Does E2E test give him confidence to release his product or feature? So can we achieve those confidence with Cypress was one of the factors for us. And also for developers was, what I noticed was they hated debugging, and they were kind of not happy with the Selenium way of working and testing, and always having a flaky, because it was working totally fine on when they're tested locally, and some kind of asynchronous or some way, they always had some flaky tests, and which was kind of really not that good. And Cypress tries to solve with some of their own inbuilt rating strategies and timing, and for especially these modern front-end applications, which has React and Vue, Angular, because they have their own page rendering and so on. So I would say the best tool is talk to your teams and see where the problem is, and try to come up with to solve those problem with whatever the solution. It could be Cypress, it could be some other tool, or I don't know. So I would talk to team. Collaboration is very important.
Thank you very much. Daniel wants to know, what's your experience with Cypress so far? Did you experience any problems, especially since we're all coming from different solutions?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest win is reproduce the issue and see what's happening, and also the documentation part, and also what something is wrong. You know that if something is wrong, they already have a solution or a workaround, or something that's open under discussion. It's clearly known. And especially as I answered Firefox, they're open to that. It's still beta, and they know it's a problem, and they know why it's a problem, and they have a alternative solution to fix that problem. So in that way, the support was really great from them. And my experience was I could reduce the flakiness of the tests using the better APIs, which can really does the retries. I don't have to implement wait and retries on my own, or use some extra additional APIs from the WebDriver IO, which was a big win for me. And other big win for me was to get especially the front-end developers love it. I'm not sure if Daniel, if you know front-end developer, a lot of front-end development is more focused now on design systems, and most of the companies are building their own design system for UI, and they're using Storybook. And they wanted to work on a tool where they can get instant feedback. And Cypress was one of the things I could convince them, like, hey, they are really happy that they can see the results and work on something. So now the QA responsibility is not just for the automation engineer. Now the QA responsibility of fixing those broken tests or REST was distributed. So now the responsibility is whole team responsibility. Yeah. Like that said, I hope I answered my question, your question.
If there's nothing coming up again regarding this topic, sounds good.
Okay.
Then I would go on with the next question. We have 2 left until now. Raul asks, how do you work around the single origin restriction? An example, when you need to log in on a different domain or when you cannot work around redirections.
I think, I don't know. I've not encountered that. And I don't know, I need to look into it, but it's a good question to explore it. Yeah, I think they have a good GitHub docs. You can check it, have a look there. If something is, they know if they have some limitations, they're quite open for that, and it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I don't know, I need to check it out. I can take a look and get back to him later.
Thank you very much. Then the last question is from Alice. Is it very important to perform the same tests in different browsers?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. Maybe not, I don't know, like, especially depending on what you want to do. Especially one of the things which really helped us was, it doesn't matter if it's a Cypress or a WebDriver IO or a Selenium based browsers. One thing which really helped us is, like, we ran the tests on Firefox and Chrome for the WebDriver IO for existing test. And sometimes that particular XYZ feature works fine on Chrome and fails on Firefox. And it works on sometimes on Firefox and fails on Chrome. So with that, we came to know that there is some kind of flakiness with WebDriver based or whatever. So we could clearly sense that the kind of flakiness, at least it helped. But on the other hand, if you look at, most of them are WebKit, Chromium-based browsers like Safari, or Chrome, or Electron, or Edge. So, and also the decline of the market share for Firefox. It depends on, do you really care for those browsers? Is it really mandatory? Yeah, it depends on your project requirements.
Okay, then there popped up another question from Mike. Have you managed to never use cy.wait brackets? I think that's a command, isn't it?
Yeah. CY. I think, yes, I think, no, I had to use at some place. One of the thing was, I think it was maybe we had an API at the backend, which was our React application was asynchronously updating it, and without wait, our results were quite fluctuating. And in order to satisfy our React lifecycle to end and update the page for the change in our API, I have to explicitly wait for some time in order to make that feature work. Otherwise, sometimes it was a little bit flaky even in Cypress. Of course, otherwise you can also increase the default timeout to try the default application default time. You can increase, by default it comes with 4 seconds. You can increase it to 8 seconds, but we don't want it to do it for all. But we know that case was API was taking too much time and the React lifecycle was taking too much of time. So we applied to one particular step. Let me know in your chat if you have better strategies to handle, or if you get rid of that, that would be great.
Thank you very much for answering these questions. I think everybody received an answer. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you very much for preparing the talk for tonight. Please don't forget to provide feedback to Anil, as this will help us to improve further online meetups. And we're happy to welcome you back soon.
We also shared some, we also shared some links. So your contact details, LinkedIn profile, different meetup communities. Check out the Zoom chat. You can copy paste them and check them all out. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, that'd be great. And by the way, I also run a meetup communities like Steffi said. Yeah, if you're in Berlin, I hope to see you sometimes in our online meetup or physical events next year, maybe. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for giving the opportunity to talk. So I hope you enjoyed it. So please give a try on GitHub. It's open source, and play around. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening and enjoy the good weather.